Alright guys, hope you're doing well. So yeah, in this video I'm going to talk about the hair analysis.report application, and I'm specifically going to talk about how it is not there to replace a practitioner, because that's been coming up a couple of times over the past few years, and I want to address that because I think it's a common misconception. So yeah, basically when I was a practitioner for Dr. Wilson back in 2019, he basically wanted all of the practitioners to generate a sort of a bullet point list of all of the patterns or the major patterns on the hair test. And at the time, I was working hard, not really charging what I should have done for the amount of work I was putting in. And then obviously he wanted us to do this extra work, and it was quite frustrating because I already knew the patterns, and it was just extra work for me to type them all out and send them across. So I thought, I'm going to make an application for this because I'm taking too long doing it. I haven't got the time to do it. I haven't charged people for this additional time. So I ended up making a small application. Prints off all of the stuff, and actually I realised, this would be really helpful for practitioners, because hair analysis is a big subject. There's hundreds of patterns, hundreds of symptoms people can have. Every symptom, most symptom can often relate to a pattern. So over time, I obviously started building, what now is hair analysis dot report. So it's been going for quite a while, and there's a lot of practitioners that use it. But yeah, one thing that I want to address, and it's probably interesting, it's probably a nice thing that people have been saying, it's not going to replace a practitioner. It's probably indicative of the fact that it's actually a pretty good system. Better reports, if that makes sense. So yeah, basically, when I was quite frustrated as a practitioner because the ARL reports are not too bad, but I feel like they were stuck in the past. They were quite outdated. They didn't have a lot of sort of the new things that people talk about. I wasn't impressed by the trace elements reports, and yeah, I just thought that I wanted to kind of do hair analysis so a little bit of justice, if that makes sense, from just for my own, just to create my own passion, if that makes sense. And I read Dr. Wilson's articles, and I read the people's articles. I'm quite well read. I read in hair analysis, Dr. Watts, and I read Dr. Malta's book, and a lot of different people. And I just think, God, this is such a huge subject. It would be great if we could sort of like collate that into a bit of a system to help practitioners with their clients, etc., when they're actually generating reports. So why do I say it's not going to replace a practitioner? Well, I don't want it to replace a practitioner, and it never will replace a practitioner. And there's a few key reasons why. You can't build something that that replaces experience. It's impossible. A prime example is if you was to generate a supplement report on our system. Here we are. It will generate you a supplement report, and it'll give you, what you recommended based on your oxidation rate, based on your NAK ratio, based on various factors like whether you're in fast oxidation, whether you got a high NAK ratio in fast oxidation, whether you're in sympathetic dominance, whether you're not in sympathetic dominance, whether you're in a follow pattern, etc., etc., etc. There's calculations for that, and it generates you a report. But as a practitioner, you should be speaking to your clients and figuring out, can this person handle the supplements? Is the dosages correct? Some individuals are more sensitive to kelp in the beginning. I mean, that was something that I was really sensitive to. Some others are sensitive to this. So you're never going to replace a practitioner in that sense. And it's one of the reasons why, when you actually generate a report, you can actually water things down for the practitioner, for the client. The idea that I had with this particular system is I wanted to give practitioners detailed information, basically. Like, I think you're not really doing hair analysis and mineral balancing justice if you created a very simple report. Because basically you would be getting questions saying, where's this pattern, where's that pattern, where's this pattern, where's that pattern. But the one of the issues with creating such a detailed report is that, you know, it can get overwhelming for a client. So what I've really wanted to do is I've wanted to make the reports adjustable. So, you know, if you come across something that you think is going to overwhelm a client a little bit too much, then before you send them the PDF, you know, you could turn it off. If you think the selenium is actually not a high selenium, this is another thing where intuition and experience comes in perfect. So, you know, this is saying your selenium's very high, and it could be because of using a selenium-based shampoo. Now, that's something that a program cannot figure out 100%. So the practitioner needs to speak to the client and figure out, are they actually using a shampoo? And if they think that they're actually dumping a lot of, an amigo of selenium or something like that, then you can switch that off for when you're sending it as a PDF to the client. You can actually highlight bits of text and delete it or change your own. You know, if you think that iron is just not something that the client is particularly needs to focus on at the moment, you know, you can switch that off as well. So yeah, that's what I basically wanted to make this video about. You know, the application is not designed to replace a practitioner. It never will be. I don't want it to be honest, because life is about relationships. Life is about connections. You know, life is pretty meaningless if we've got no relations and connections in our lives. Think about it, you know. And I know that sounds extreme, but if you just got to a point where you wasn't even speaking to people, wasn't speaking to clients, you wasn't speaking to people at the shopping mall, like, that's a pretty miserable life. And you know, I really hope this advancement of AI technology doesn't, you know, I hope that people start realizing that people have souls. I think that's one thing that AI may do, is that the more people use AI, the more people will feel like it's not got a soul, and therefore they will actually seek out other people and seek out relationships and stuff like that, because they want that soul connection. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but whenever I watch, like, you know, a kid's TV, I mean, you know, I've got a little one, I've got a 17-month-old, and we put on TV sometimes, and you watch some of the programs, and there's no soul in them. It's all CGI. You know, like, I remember growing up and watching things like Wizard of Oz, you know, Oliver Twist, you know, Calamity Jane, and there was no CGI in there, and it had soul to it. I mean, even the old cartoon programs, Tom and Jerry was sort of hand drawn. You know, the Disney ones of hand drawn. It had soul. It's so difficult to explain what it is. Now the Tom and Jerry is all CGI, and it just looks. It doesn't look. There's no soul in there. You know, so that's that. But I am wanting to add additional features that are going to help practitioners even more. You know, so, you know, prime example with the supplements. You know, I do want to implement features like, you know, is this client sensitive to supplements? What supplements are the client sensitive to? You know, and we can help rearrange things a little bit like that. You know, I really want to make an improved intake form, so you can ask things like, are you sensitive to EMFs? You know what I mean? You know, do you have any mold exposure? You know, the list can go on and on and on. You know, how stressful is your life at the moment? You know, get a picture of a person. You can get a picture of how well they're doing the program, and sort of integrate that as well. And again, as an aid for practitioners, because sometimes you just don't know what a client's been doing for the past 3 or 4 months. So if they fill out their intake form, and it's very, I mean, one, if you give them an intake form that's extremely detailed, practitioners are going to find it hard to go through that and parse through it. But if there was a piece of software out there that went through it and says, right, they're taking this medication and it's likely going to be affecting this particular mineral, or you know, it doesn't actually look like they're doing the program very well, again, something that the practitioner would then have to investigate. So you could ask questions, it's like, oh, actually, it doesn't look like the client's doing the program very well. And then again, as a practitioner, using your own intuition, using just your own soul and human nature, you can then go in and ask questions and figure things out on a more personal level. So that's the crux of the video, really. We've created an aid, hopefully a good aid. I mean, the feedback I get from the reports, you know, are extremely good. And I don't want people to think that this is it. You know, we've got new versions coming out. I'm adding additional layers of complexity. You know, new features to help manage clients and manage hair tests and all that sort of jazz. But yeah, I really want to stress it ain't there to replace a practitioner, because yeah, it kind of irks me a little bit when I hear that comment. You know, I am pro human. You know, I'm definitely pro human, and it's not there for that. It's there to aid you, and you can get tremendous amounts of information from it. You might miss a pattern. You know, that's quite common. Human error. People are stressed out. You might miss a pattern. It might be a pattern that's kind of rare but really important, and that might flag up. Oh, I wasn't even aware of that. I think on here there's a bowl pattern. Brilliant. You can see a bowl pattern, no problem. Everyone can see a bowl pattern. Oh, actually, but they're in a deep bowl pattern. You'd have to go through a little calculation to figure that out. You know, sometimes it's not too easy to see a deep bowl pattern on hair analysis. So this basically means that, wow, they're not only stuck, they're really stuck. So again, then you would go in and help them on a more deeper level and focus on that, like really what are you truly feeling stuck about, you know, etc. Now, I will talk about individuals using the application. So I've had a lot of thought about this, and basically the conclusion that I've come to is that there's a lot of bad information out there on hair analysis, unfortunately. And, you know, it's not the fault really of anyone. A lot of people see hair analysis tests as replacement, so they'll see a low copper and think it's actually low copper when it's not, you know. They'll think they've got a low sodium level. Oh, I need to eat more sodium, when actually it's probably more indicative of other things. You know, you would speak more about adrenal burnout as an example. I do feel like, again, no fault of their own, that some practitioners are being taught by people that don't truly deeply understand hair analysis tests particularly well. So we do have an option for individuals to generate reports with way less features than what practitioners have got, and it's more expensive. And the key thing that happens when individuals create reports is that there are a lot of disclaimers that they've got to get through in order for them to actually generate the report. And when they actually generate a report, I mean, you can't see it on this one because it's a practitioner account, there's basically, you know, a big red disclaimer, you know, a red disclaimer at the top here. Let's see if we can turn this to there we go. Yeah, anyway, playing with the little toolbar. But there's a big red disclaimer at the top on every report for individuals saying you really need to work with a practitioner. Now, the hope of me doing that is, one, you know, there's a big warning system when people go through it, because people can get reports anywhere. You can buy a report from loads of websites. Some people you can even buy just a normal hair test. And I think, what's the point in that? There's no actual report. So, you know, people actually generate reports as individuals, go through the disclaimers, and actually there's a bit of information where I basically say, look, you really need to work with a practitioner. If you're not working with one, or you'd like us to recommend one, get in touch, tell us where you're from, country, etc., and I will personally recommend people to them. I'll probably create a better system for that in the future, but the majority of time when people do that, they actually end up finding a new practitioner, which I think is a net win, in my opinion. So I'm trying to sort of clean up the space a little bit, in my opinion, just by providing better data and better information for people, which is important. But I will stress, you know, 95% of the people using the software are practitioners, and a very small few you know, don't have a practitioner account, but most of them will actually get in touch and say, wow, I wasn't told about any of this when I was with my other practitioner. There's actually been times when the practitioners gave them the wrong program, and it's not until they've done this they actually realise they was on the wrong program. That's quite shocking, personally. So yeah, in my opinion, we've helped quite a lot of people. So that's it for this video. Just wanted to talk about that. It's going to save me a lot of time when people ask me questions, and I can just refer them to this video. So thanks for watching, guys, and I will speak to you all soon.